right, we are live. What's going on, everybody? I'm pretty sure nobody's here right now, and if somebody is here, then welcome to another episode of Random Rambling. For anybody who's watching this for the very first time, these are kind of meant to be something you can come back to after the fact and not feel like you kind of missed out on watching it live. So I'm very happy to have my friend Justin here today from his channel. I've always been curious, is it JJ Lomas or JJ Lomas?
Lomas.
I figured it was Lomas. Lomas made the most sense to me. But yeah, man.
Traditional Spanish way, it would be Lomas, but
Oh, okay. Nice, nice. Are you Spanish?
like way down the line from Spain, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool, man. Well, a big thanks to Justin for being here in this video. And
Thanks for
yeah, we're
having
gonna
me,
kind
man.
of, yeah, man. Thank you so much. We're gonna kind of just shoot the shit, man. Just kind of hang out, talk for a little bit about random stuff. First of all, before we even get into the real deep questions, what game is that you have behind you? What cabinet is that you have behind you?
Oh, that's Gyrus.
Nice, nice. How much did that cost?
Well, I mean, fully in the condition this is, it probably goes for about $1,000 to $1,200. But this lady in New Jersey was trying to get rid of it. She's like, it's $950. And then I found a few things because I've worked on these before. I found a few things, and then I eventually got her to be like, 800 is yours. I'm like, okay.
Nice, nice, man. No, I haven't played like an arcade cabinet game in quite some time. The last time that I genuinely played it was, or played one, because I haven't really been to an arcade in a while, was probably almost like 8 years ago when I was in a band. We were recording an EP that we had released, and
Yeah.
The owner of the studio had Galaga. And so he just had like the bottom of the cabinet open where we could just keep throwing like a quarter in there and just keep playing all
That's
day.
what's up. Add that bitch
Yeah,
on free play.
yeah, exactly. Pretty much. It was a good time. But
Funny
real
story
quick,
about that. Before you go into your next thing,
yeah, go
there's
ahead.
a video. There's a video of the guy from that company, and he's talking about the machine. He's like, "Yeah," he's like, "I remember the first day I came up with the idea for Galaga," and everyone's like, "Huh?" He's like, "What the hell did you just call it?"
Galaga.
like the guy who made it calls it Galaga, but no one else calls it that because it sounds
That's
stupid.
crazy. I didn't know that. Galaga. That just feels wrong. That feels like
Yeah,
that's
I know,
not what it
right?
should be called. That's
Dang.
crazy, man. I see we got Q reviews in here saying, "Damn, 993, almost 1,000." I know. I'm trying to get there, man. Thank you so much for the support, man. Thank you for stopping by. I noticed you
Dude.
have 2,000 something subscribers, man. How long did it take you to get there?
Well, see, that's my thing. Sometimes people have a niche, and obviously your niche is Star Wars, and there's a lot of people who come to your channel just for that. Obviously, you do other stuff than that,
Yeah.
but you're really close to 1,000. I love it because you're freaking consistent as hell, and I got to watch your videos all the time. I'm kind of at a stage where I've been kind of expected a lot to do all this Smallville related stuff because tons of people came when I did the first entertainment road trip, like the touring filming locations. And like randomly out of nowhere, that video got like 200,000 plus views. I was like, and so
Yeah,
I got
man.
subscribers based off of that, and everyone was like, "We need to do Smallville. We need to do Smallville." I was like, but it's so hard because it's like a 10-year-plus-year-old show, so it's hard to keep making new stuff about said show. But
No, yeah, for sure. I know what you mean. Is like people came in for a specific thing and they like kind of like expect you to keep doing that. But speaking, I kind of want to like sidetrack on that same note. Like you've done a few of those like filming location videos, these things that are like pretty cool, man. Like what inspired you to do those? I also saw recently through Facebook that another mutual friend we have, Esley, that you recently met him like in
yeah,
person
dude.
through like just like traveling. So like kind of what inspires you to kind of just travel around and find these locations?
So what I think is really cool, it kind of fascinates me. Obviously, like some people just might say, "Oh, a movie's a movie." That doesn't really interest me too much. So
Yeah.
like I get some things like no one's really keen on like, "Oh, that's the alleyway from Stranger Things where they fought." Like people just like, "I don't know, it's an alleyway." But like what
Yeah.
I like doing is like trying to like get the exact angle and stuff like that and see like what's changed, little stuff here and there. Eventually this one's going to come out, but I went down to Georgia and we did a lot of the Stranger Things locations, and there were signs on the elementary school that said like Hawkins Middle School hours and stuff, like so little things like that, like they're filming or like even shows that might be done with, they still have little things that might be reminiscent of when they filmed and stuff. I just think that stuff's cool, and like when I watched people do it online, a lot of it wasn't, I wouldn't say professionally done, but a lot of it wasn't like, comparatively speaking, like they would just show it nowadays and that's it. They wouldn't show like the original clip and then try to blend it in with the exact angle and stuff like that. I know I can't really monetize it, but like it's something I like and the fans like, so I still want to put it out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally get what you mean. It's kind of like you want to be able to make content in a way that you can go back and revisit yourself, you know? Like I feel like that's kind of the fun of making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's like sure, for me, when I do the reviews, which is the main like chunk of what I post, that's just kind of me just trying to catalog as many reviews as I possibly can of just various movies, just
Yeah.
something else to talk about with different people that come to the channel. But when I've done things like the supercut videos or like just vlogs, I like coming back to those and I want to make a video that like I want to watch, you know. I love watching supercut videos, for instance. I love watching these just epic montages of movies like to
Oh
music.
yeah.
And the worst thing for me is when like I watch one and the music and the video clips don't really sync too well, or it just feels like they just kind of put music over random clips and it feels all over the place
Yeah.
and jumbled. And so that was kind of like something that I kind of strive to do. And I always love that after I post one of those, whether people care about it or not, I enjoy being able to like kind of rewatch them on YouTube. I feel I have this one that I did months ago now at this point called A Celebration of Film. It was like 8 minutes long. And it's my favorite one that I've made thus far.
I think I remember. Did you post that like a year or so ago?
Yeah, I want to say it wasn't a year, but it's at this. With this year with 2020, it feels like a year at this point. I think
Okay.
it's probably been like 6 or 7 months.
I
But
remember it
yeah,
was a while back.
yeah, exactly. And I've done a handful of them now at this point. And the most recent one I did was like another superhero one that I recently did. And they're just fun to make. They're fun to edit. And when you like get the timing of certain moments down, like it's just I already know like okay, this video as soon as I upload it, instant copyright claim, like instant
Oh yeah.
copyright claim.
Yeah.
The
Totally.
second it pops up. So
You
you kind of
expect
just
it.
have to, yeah, like you kind of just have to mentally put that away. Like you just have to be ready for that. But
Do you
you know,
ever
it's one of
feel
those things
like?
where,
Do you ever feel like when you make something, you're just like you see someone like? Have you ever run into an instance where you see someone they might have made like a trailer or a supercut, and you're just like, no, what this inspires me. Like this guy had a good idea, but I can edit. I can make it more crisp. I can like blend in audio elements and stuff like that. But then after you put the video out, you see someone else did do that, and it might be on like a professional level. You got to get discouraged if you see that kind of shit.
yeah, for sure, man. Because for me, right, like I'm not super savvy when it comes to editing. Like I'm just now learning how to do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I learned how to do editing. I'm doing editing the exact same way that I've done since I started my YouTube channel. I film all of my videos on my iPhone and I edit them all on iMovie on my iPhone. I don't
There you
have
go.
I don't have this like grand amount of skill. So like when it comes to like right now I'm working on a computer to do this, but like I'm not like super savvy with computer based movie or like, you know, film editing or video editing. And so when it comes to those supercut videos, most of the time it's just me lying in bed. I have a song that I have already on my phone or something, and I'm screen recording the clips off of YouTube, and then I
Really?
just yeah, and then I just insert them doing that. And so it's a little time consuming, but and sometimes when I watch them again, like on my TV, like if I watch it on my Xbox, like through YouTube, I'll be like, oh, it's like super grainy on this TV because of the fact that I screen recorded it on a
Yep.
small phone. So stuff
Yep.
like that can be discouraging when I see people who do it to this top-notch level that maybe like
Have like
they
their
have,
Nikon camera that has like a super ridiculously big lens and it gets
yeah.
crystal clear, like quality. Like YouTubers that have a million plus subscribers, you'll see how crystal clear their skin is and stuff like that, and how like well lit everything is.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Or like when it comes to like something like supercut videos, people who have the computers that are like right now I'm working on this rinky dink laptop and I've noticed it works great for these live streams, but doing it in general, like just using this computer for anything else, it's super slow. I just don't have the funds right now to like upgrade. And I'd like to, and I feel like
I
that'll be
feel
where
that.
that'll be for me where I feel like I'll be able to really take it to the next level as far as being able to genuinely pull clips from movies where I can like take the Blu-ray or the digital copy of the movie I have and take the clips that way where I can get it in like super high res. Because on YouTube, it's always going to be a hit or miss. Sometimes the clips are super high res, and then sometimes they're going to be okay. And then the worst part is that depending on the quality of that clip in that like halfway through the video, YouTube also can sometimes compress the video a little bit, and then it just ends up kind of looking muddied. Like there's a couple of the supercuts that I love that I did, but somewhere in the mix of them, they're just like there's like this graininess to them that I can't help but like nitpick. But then people comment and they enjoy them, and that's all that really matters. You know what I mean?
The thing is, when you're making those, though, you're doing what you love, and then you don't realize people like Q reviews. You do, man.
I appreciate that, Q.
I haven't watched the full super because I remember seeing it and I clicked on it for like a minute or so. Something must have happened in my house or somewhere to put my phone down. But the montage videos are so fun to do, it seems like. And what I was saying is like people like Peter Jackson or Christopher Nolan or anyone else probably go back and look at their own movies, whether it's just you making a montage movie or them making a whole film. There's like we had crap lighting that day, like the shot didn't look how I wanted it to be, or like, damn it, like he did something where he was like mouthing the lines when he wasn't talking or something like that,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Stuff like that. I love seeing that stuff when I watch movies and I watch TV. Right now I'm rewatching Lost. I'm gonna be doing like a review on Lost at some point whenever I finish watching it again. And this is the fourth time I've watched it, and it's my girlfriend's first time, so I'm just having a great time kind of seeing her reaction. I don't know if you've ever watched it before, but it's a really fun show. Like I thoroughly enjoy it. And in the show,
I watched like one or two episodes. I know how it ends because I had a bunch of people tell me during the finale.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's one of those shows that like the ending is super divisive, and it's also a little bit confusing. Like when I first saw it, I thought one thing about it, and the discussion was in one direction, and it wasn't until I like watched it again and maybe read some of like the creators, like the writers, kind of like viewpoint on what they were going for, that I was like, I get it. But it's one of those endings that's it kind of, I don't want to say it ruins the rest of the show, but it like kind of like it doesn't. It's not the finale that you would want it to be, but the show itself, while you're watching it, is engaging. It's just constant twists and turns. And if you don't really know anything about the show beyond like the fact that there's people on an island, like it's a good show for like constant surprises and keeping you engaged. And
Abrams is behind it, right?
What was that you said?
Abrams was behind it, right? JJ Abrams?
Yes. So Abrams did he was the producer. I think he directed and was part of the writing team for the pilot, which is 2 episodes. And then he was like a producer on a few episodes in the first season, or like a good chunk of the episodes in the first season. And beyond that, I don't think he was like super involved. But yeah, it's a fun show. And the reason I brought it up was because of the fact that they film on location in a lot of scenes and they're next to a beach. In the scenes, you constantly have the waves crashing in the back, but you can tell in so many moments where like they're using ADR and like the voices don't perfectly match like the voice, like the words that are like the facial, what they're saying doesn't match their mouths nearly as well as you think it would be.
Yeah, because they couldn't like shut down a whole beach or something like that. So
exactly,
I've definitely had to do that on 1 or 2 of my shots before, and it's come very obvious to the point in my small video, the first video I did. So obviously there's going to be some technical issues and stuff. But it was when I was right in front of the Kent farm from the show, I was recording something, but it's like windy as hell outside.
Yeah.
So constantly when I'm talking, so I had to go back, stand in front of my camera, be like 10 feet away, take the bass out a little bit, try to tweak it as much as I can to match like that sort of distance I was from the camera, but still, it's not the same.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like it's a rough thing to kind of do, but I love seeing that kind of stuff when I watch like the big stuff. Even like if we were talking something more recent, like watching like The Mandalorian, the jeans guy that's in that shot that everybody was talking about, or the helicopter that was in the one of the episodes behind Boba Fett, and like that kind of stuff. I love seeing that in shows and in movies because it reminds me that like even the most high budgeted things with some of the most creative people working on it still have like these mishaps everywhere. I think there's also like some dude in jeans like in Gladiator with Russell Crowe back in the day that like walks in the background. And
Did
it's
you
just
hear
like
about
I love stuff like that.
Did you hear about Shazam when they filmed that?
No, what about it?
So like I said, I did the entertainment road trip for that. Went to Toronto or whatever. But there's a scene. You've seen Shazam, right?
Yeah.
He's running in the mall trying to chase after Savannah. And he's like trying to fly and shit like that. And there's people in the background. The three people in the background were part of the crew of the film.
Wow.
So instead of digitally editing them out, the director CGI'd shopping bags over their arms and stuff like that. So it looks like they were mall shoppers.
Oh, see, yeah, see, I love stuff like that, man, where they have to kind of repurpose stuff in the background, or just like maybe just things that don't work, but you don't realize it in the moment because it's like I don't know, like there's just always little mistakes like that, and I love catching that stuff in movies. I actually just recently was rewatching all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which I've been kind of slow to do my reviews for, but in one of the movies, in the third movie, Dream Warriors, which I already did a review for, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. But there's this. So, do you know that movie pretty well? Like, do you remember it pretty well?
I will say it's probably my favorite out of all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. The last time I did see it is when I bought them all on DVD. So I was probably around 16 at the time.
Gotcha.
So I know a lot of the iconic scenes. I know a lot of the one-liners and stuff like that. But go on.
Well, there's a moment at the end of the near the end of the movie where John Saxon's character, he recently passed away. He's the guy who plays Nancy's dad. He's like the police officer, and he gets killed. He gets killed, or we see him get killed. And then in the scene where Nancy ends up getting killed, right there, he kind of like it's Freddy, but he's pretending to be the dad. Like he kind of flies in, like he's coming from heaven. Like there's like this really cheesy scene where he's flying in, and he's got like this golden light around him as he kind of floats in. It's super cheesy, but it's good for a laugh. But in that moment, you could 110% see. Even I have the Blu-ray copy of the movie, watching it on my like pretty decently sized TV. You can see the wires on his like shoulders kind of blurred into the like golden light that's kind of as it's flying in. And I love finding stuff like that in movies, man. It humanizes everything. You know what I mean? It kind of takes the pressure off of things. Real quick, let's look at some of these comments we got here. See, 123 Rock fan, how's it going, my friend? He asked if I've ever thought about doing recut trailers. I have, but I feel like I wouldn't know how to approach it. Maybe I'll give it a go one of these days.
So
what were you gonna say?
Blacktastic, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on, Blacktastic? How are you, man? Appreciate you stopping by.
He was one of my subscribers when I had like less than 100 subs.
Wow. He's super supportive, man. He's such a great guy, man. Like he is super supportive. I've loved having him in my collabs. Recently just did one with him for the movie Beaches. And I was quite surprised when I sent him.
Wow, throwback.
Yeah, right. I had never seen the movie before. I had never even heard of the movie before. And when I sent it to him, I thought to myself, like, I was going to give it to either him or Rashad G Reviews, because I thought to myself, how funny would it be to have like two grown men like review this, you know, what essentially would probably be called a chick flick that, you know, from the late 80s. And then when I sent it to Blacktastic, he's like, I got you, fam. He's like, I'll have that to you shortly. He's like, I know this movie like the back of my hand. Great selection. And I kind of was taken aback. I was kind of like, did not expect him to be such a big Beaches fan, even though I thoroughly enjoyed the movie and I do highly recommend it. I was pretty surprised to see how quick he was like, oh yeah, I love that movie. You know, that was great.
Yeah, he used to do he would do these reviews that I loved where like he might still do them. It's just like I have so many like friends on YouTube. It's like overwhelming at times, but I still try to check out what I can. He would do these reviews where he would go to the movie theater and then like the second after he would see the movie, he would have him and one of his friends just talking about it in the lobby or the car or something like that. And I know you've done that too sometimes when you're doing your reviews in the car. And I kind of like that because it's still fresh in your head, because sometimes as creators and stuff like that, we'll go home and then your mind might blank on a few things in that like hour or two. You forgot to like mull over the mood. But also not to talk too much, but someone talked about doing supercut movie trailers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of saw this. Do you remember? I know you're the Star Wars guy, but the Force Awakens trailer 3.
Which one was the third trailer? I know the first one was the first one was the teaser where we saw Finn like pop his head up for the first time. But
the third one was like the one where it had like those chime like that ding, ding, and she's like, "Who are you?" And then she's like, "I'm no one."
Yeah. And then it goes into Luke talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Force Awakens. I think it was. Yeah. But I edited. This was like 3 or 4 years ago. I edited Star Wars Episode 1 through 6 all into one thing. I just threw it up on YouTube from my old channel, but it was
Okay, so that's I saw that the Skywalker story. I saw that you had
yeah,
uploaded that. Okay,
yeah.
cool. I gotta check that out.
So that was from like 4 years ago. There was another one that I did. It was called like The Tragedy of Bruce Wayne. And have you ever seen Batman versus Superman?
Yeah,
And they have the intro where it shows like Bruce Wayne's origin story, and the credits are coming up, and it shows the actors.
yeah,
So I did something like that, and I super cut it all together. So where it showed that, and then it showed the origin story from the original Burton Batman, and then it showed the scene from Gotham, and then it showed Batman Begins, like Bruce Wayne's story, and then like when I would have um, the dude from Gotham whip out the gun, I would have the credits same exact font as in the movie and stuff. It would say like Donnell Logue and like the dude who played Bullock in the Burton Batman. But then like the second he goes to fire his gun, it cuts to the BVS. So it's kind of like super cut all together. But like you were saying, I did that kind of with like screen capped YouTube footage and stuff like that. So I feel like I want to go back and like professionally do it. But that's to what your friend was saying. It's just you see something, you're just like, yo, that gives me an idea. Like
yeah, yeah.
this is gonna be great.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that. I've also wanted to do some of those trailers that are recut, like in a different genre, like Home Alone as like a horror movie, or like stuff like that, where like people have fun with that. I noticed here that Q Reviews mentioned to get clip grab, so I'm guessing that's something for the computer. I'm sure you'll let me know. I don't know what clip grab is, but maybe it's like a software where you can like screen record things. Because sometimes I want to screen record things like off of Vudu or Netflix or these like just moments, but whenever you try to do that on your phone, the screen is black because obviously copyright infringement. They don't want you to screen record that stuff, even when it's like something like a digital copy of a movie that you own yourself. Even though I know that people who own their own copies of the movies, a lot of times they're the ones that are able to screen record like clips off of the computer to use for videos. So it's kind of like a weird give and take kind of thing. I also noticed here, I want to make reference or just kind of like talk about this. Q Reviews is actually going to be filming, I believe he told me in March. We were talking about it in our group chat earlier today. He's going to be playing a younger version of Duke from Friday the 13th in like a bit of a fan film. So
I saw you post about that.
Super
I was
awesome.
wondering, I was just like, this dude, like, I feel, have you done a collab with him before?
Yeah, we've done quite a few collabs together, a bunch of different movies, and he's crazy good. I mean, Q Reviews was I want to say maybe like the second or third friend I made here on YouTube, and we've gone on to be good friends since. And man, he's got so much great content over there. He used to like kill me because every time he would do these reviews, he would do these over the top intros that would be like linked to the movie. So one of my favorite ones that I always comes to mind is when the movie Us came out, the Jordan Peele film. He did like this whole intro where there was like a second version of him, and he did the voice and everything, and it was hilarious, man. And he actually just recently did a really great video where he unboxed really badass like lifelike Grogu, the Baby Yoda like figure, like not the figurine, but like this little statue that you can like buy that like has the clothes and everything. And he took some really badass pictures with it, and he did a really great video on that. I recommend you guys go check that out.
Yeah, I like stuff like that because I was gonna do one for my Friday the 13th, but like the Blu-ray collection that had like all of it in there. But like I originally wasn't a fan of unboxing stuff, but then I realized certain things that are like $200, $300, $400, $500 that people don't have access to easily. It's really nice to see the quality and how in depth it is and what you get for your money. And so now like I have an appreciation for them now. So I'm probably going to check that out because I still at one point want a Grogu doll.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to get a Grogu myself whenever, finances allow. But yeah, it was super cool to watch the video and just kind of like see everything that came in the box. Because I'm kind of like you, like I'm not crazy on unboxing videos. Like I'm not typically going to just look up unboxing videos of whatever. Like I have some friends who do some unboxing videos, and I'll watch them because it's them. You know what I mean? Like they're friends, so I'll watch them. Kind of like usually it's their personality in the videos that kind of makes it fun for me.
Yeah.
But I usually don't really care for what's being unboxed. But something like that is definitely
because I'm just over here. I have like an album I bought for Newfound Glory, and it's just like, I'll open it. And here's the record. Here's the track listings. And Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good
Yeah,
one.
thanks for stopping by. Yeah, 40-second video. There you go.
But then,
I
oh, your comment. I just saw it now. Sorry.
No, you're good. What were you gonna say?
No, Rock fan said the thing about the product placement for the Starbucks cup. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I had a feeling that like it seems like the one with the guy in the back with the jeans in like the Mandalorian, that almost seemed like a genuine mistake because you really have to be like if you watch I watched that scene a couple times. It's not something that your eyes are easily going to. You know what I mean? Like the guy standing in the back with the jeans like
Now,
I saw it.
Did they edit it after the episode was released or before?
So the episode was released and the guy was there for like maybe like a couple of like a day or two, and then they edited it kind of similar to what they did with the Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones. They edited it to take out the guy, so now he just looks like there's whatever regular wall
Like the
there where the guy was.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I watched the clip, like it's a very quick moment, and it cuts to this shot where you have our three main heroes in that shot just kicking ass. The last thing you're thinking is like, let me look in the bottom left corner behind them, and
Yeah,
oh
it's
look,
like it's not the focus. So
exactly. So that one made sense that it was more of a mistake. The Starbucks cup sitting on a table though, that almost feels like I would have been like, I can't imagine that somebody like as an actor was just like they wouldn't have sat there and like kind of been like acting the scene out and like looking around like playing their character and then not
yeah.
been like, dude, somebody's got their fucking mocha latte just sitting on the
There was
like.
a fucking like I think it was an episode 2 later in Game of Thrones where there was like they tried to like precariously place like a water bottle behind like the leg of a chair or something like that, and like they didn't place it right. So I believe you can see like a water bottle behind the dude's like wooden old timey chair in one of the episodes.
Yeah, I think I do remember hearing about that. It's funny that like similar to the Mandalorian, they had like two mishaps in the season. I definitely didn't catch the second one that happened in the Mandalorian with the helicopter that flew by in the background.
I didn't even see that. No,
Yeah, I saw
it's
people
just like
posting about it and they took it away. It's already gone. Like it's not in the episode anymore. But it's
yeah,
like a brief.
it's just like it's somewhat different. But like, do you remember years ago, Katy Perry was supposed to be on Sesame Street?
I remember it, but I don't think I know any
They
outcome of it.
they didn't end up airing the episode because her shirt's like down to here and her like boobs are pushed up a little bit. But I'm just like, all right, your key audience is kids who are like 3 to 10 years old. The kids only care about the puppets. They won't even remember who the hell this person is or
Yeah,
like
honestly.
know who they are really.
It's true, honestly. Like anytime as a kid, when I was really young watching Sesame Street, it wasn't until I was older and understood a lot more pop culture references that I started to be like, oh yeah, like that did happen. Like oh that person was there, or I would kind of like go back and look for older like appearances of celebrities on Sesame Street just to see what it was like. But yeah, while I was watching it as a kid, I couldn't have cared less about. Oh, this random human is here. Yeah.
Yeah.
See Donald, my buddy Donald, who was the last person I had here on Random Rambling. He asked if I've played Cyberpunk yet. I have not played Cyberpunk yet. And honestly, the real answer for that is that I'm in a different era, or not different era, a different stage, I'll say, of gaming these days. For me, I am in a place now where I don't really care to buy games at launch anymore unless I absolutely, absolutely want to. Like, unless I
Do
absolutely,
not blame
absolutely
you.
want to. Like, I just feel like games don't hold value these days. And what I mean by that is like, it doesn't take long. Like right now, we're in the holiday season. I see movies or games from just a couple months ago that just came out that are already half price, if not more.
Oh
Like
yeah.
and the new Watch Dogs recently came out. The Avengers game came out a few months ago. All these things, and I already can see them on digital sales for like half price, if not more. So for me, I was like, I just don't see the reason to buy games at launch anymore unless I genuinely want to support that game. The last game I bought at full price was Star Wars Squadrons, but anybody who knows me knows I love Star Wars. So it
How is
wasn't
that, by the way?
it was cool. So here's what I'll say about Star Wars Squadrons. It's without a doubt the best Star Wars Star Pilot game of all time. It is 110% like realistic within that premise. and it's challenging. It's a game that you won't. It's not like a Star Wars Battlefront where if you're good at shooters, you can pick it up, learn the controls, learn the maps, and get good with it.
Yeah.
It's not even a game like Jedi Fallen Order where that game has its challenge depending on the difficulty you're on. But if you're a well versed adventure player, you'll be able to like kind of just jump right into it. With this game, with Squadrons, there is a huge learning curve. By the time I finished the campaign, which took me about like 8 hours, I still didn't feel great at the game, and I kind of enjoyed that. But I will say this is that I just came to terms with the fact that after a while of playing the game online, it just can be a little bit redundant, and it's not my kind of game. I'm not huge on flight simulators, but the story was fun. It was nice to see characters from like things like Star Wars Rebels make an appearance in the campaign of the game with the same voice actors who played them. There was all these connections to books and comics around this era and other star pilots. And on an overall, I found the game to be incredibly well made, visually really cool, and you just can't. I couldn't get past how cool and how much detail they put into the flying itself and just how the game plays. But it is pretty challenging, and there is this element once you get into the online that is just you kind of like flying circles around people trying to kill them, and they're trying to kill you, so you're kind of just doing this and
You
flying
have to like
around.
now you have people in your squadron and they have people in their squadron, right?
Yeah.
So
So
it might be like literally like flight strategies where like you'll try to pick someone off and be like, oh hey, like red leader or something like that. Like he's going this way, I'm gonna go this way and come behind him. You flank him from the front, and so we can like he will have nowhere to go.
exactly, it's 100% a team game. Have you ever played the game Overwatch?
Yeah, I played it for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so I played a lot of Overwatch, and it's similar to Overwatch, but in space, in the sense that like you have your assault crafts, you have your support crafts, and you have like kind of the in between. And so as a support craft, you can literally like you could be following behind your some of the people that are on assault, and you can shoot like kind of like ray shields around them to kind of protect them. You can kind of like
Ray
boost their
shields.
health or boost their strength. And then you can like a lot of those ships sometimes won't really put out too much damage. They'll kind of shoot like ion blast where they can disable an enemy vehicle, and then whoever's playing with an assault ship will come in and take them out. So what I will say is, as a fan of Star Wars on a lore level, they killed it, man. Because you know how when you watch a Star Wars movie, when they're in the middle of battle, they'll tell their droid or they'll tell anybody like whoever's with them, Chewbacca is their co-pilot. They'll be like, divert all power to the engines, divert all power to the shields.
Yeah.
In the game, while you're playing, so this is part of like the challenge of the game. While you're playing, you can literally do all that mid-flight. So if somebody's chasing behind you, you can choose to divert all power to your engines, so you can take off. Then you can literally take away all the power from your engines, allow yourself to do like a drift, kind of like Poe did at the beginning of the Last Jedi.
Oh yeah.
You could drift, and then you could change to literally you can change it to either have diverting all the power to your blaster. So now you have all your power in your shots.
So basically, they're putting like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like you could divert the energy to your shields, and you can specifically divert the energy to your back shields or to your front shields. So like those other elements will be weakened, but if you're a fan of Star Wars, the level of detail to like how you can control your ship it's all there.
Yeah, I like that because based off what you're saying, like something that would be like, I don't know, like one of the lines you said, switch all power to this. Like, so you would have something that might have been background dialogue or like something from like episode 3 before they fired a cannon or something like that. But like you were saying, you literally get to experience that. It's not just some throwaway line or something like that, part of like war dialogue or anything like that. Like you can actually do it. Back to what you were saying though about games, I definitely feel that though, because a lot of the games like Jedi Fallen Order, I played like a year later. Surprisingly, I didn't get it spoiled before I played the game. I was like halfway through the game, and I liked the opening song by the Who, that Mongolian like metal band. Like that. I can't even like do his freaking throat.
His voice is crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's so unique.
So, I'm going to talk about the game just slightly. So if anyone hasn't played it, sorry, but I YouTube searched Jedi Fallen Order, like the Who song, and the first thing that came up was final battle scene, Trilla meets Vader or something. I was like, oh,
Oh,
you
that
suck.
sucks.
Like, god damn. Like
Yeah.
I knew Saul Guerrero was in it because I watched like the gameplay at E3. But like
Yeah.
it was still a fun game overall. But I waited like a year or so to play it because I waited till all the bugs were patched out. I have Control, that game with the telepathic girl, sitting
Yeah.
in my shelf in shrink wrap. I still haven't played it. Avengers, I'm still holding off to get like the optimized PS5 version when it comes
Yeah.
out.
Well, see, that's
That's
that's the thing, right? Is like nowadays, it's like number one, there's so much to consume. So like today, I've been at work majority of the day. Came home and did this. When we're done with this, my girlfriend will be getting home. I'll be cooking dinner, probably watching some Lost with her, going to sleep. We're at a place now where I feel like we kind of have to be picky, choosy about what you want to play, what you want to do, and with your money, you know. And so for
yeah.
me, like when it comes to games, I used to be an avid user of GameFly, literally only until maybe
Oh, I
like two
remember that.
years
Yeah.
ago. Literally only until about like 2 years ago, though. Like I was constantly playing using GameFlies just so I can rent and play through all these games. I'm kind of an achievement whore on Xbox. Like, I've always been a little bit of that. So like I have like a over
Such a
two
slut,
hundred thousand.
Anthony.
What was that you said?
You're such a slut, man.
Pretty much, man. I have like a over 200,000 gamer score, like Xbox account, and I love getting achievements. It's like something I'm kind of addicted to. Like hearing that,
if
it's kind of
if
like
if if you
pinnacle.
like achievements, this was originally on the Xbox 360. I borrowed my friend's game for this, but it was like Avatar: The Legend of the
Avatar,
Burning. Yeah, if you did like a 50 hit combo, you would literally unlock all like four
all of them.
achievements for the game
Yeah,
or something like
you
that.
could do it in the tutorial. I did it
Can
back in the
you?
day.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, no,
So
trust me. I have put myself through nightmares for achievements, and sometimes I just put myself through garbage. Like especially nowadays, we don't get this as much. But in the 360 era, there were so many games based on every movie that you can think of. I have played everything from Bolt the movie, the game. I've played the G-Force the game. I played the Hannah Montana the movie the game. Like I would
Thor,
just
Captain America, like those movie games and stuff.
yeah, I would just put myself
You
through those games.
did you play Arkham Knight?
Yeah, so funny enough, right? So the reason
Did you get the Riddler trophy achievement?
so get this, right? Here's the thing. I actually have Arkham Knight installed right now. I played it back when it first came out, and I never got the Riddler achievement. But the reason I was even gonna I was it's funny that you said that, bro, because I was actually gonna bring it back to Arkham because part of the whole reason that I'm just so detached nowadays from paying for games at full price at launch, unless like with Star Wars, I knew that when I saw the gameplay footage, I knew that I was going to play through the campaign. I was going to play it for a good, week or so and some more. But I already knew I'm not a huge fan of flight simulators, and it was going to bore me eventually, and it did. I paid that $40 at launch as like a vote. Like I voted with my dollar to just make more Star Wars games. It's okay here. This
Yeah.
one might not have been my favorite, but just make more Star Wars games.
Yeah.
And I loved the game, but I knew that I was going to have that super replay value. Everything else for me, like recently, I got Watch Dogs 2. I've just recently played through it and beat it and did everything with it. But I got Watch Dogs 2, the deluxe edition, digitally. That's the $100 version that comes with all of the DLC and everything. $13, dude. 13
What?
bucks.
I would do
Exactly.
that then. It was digital?
It was digital, and so it's not on
13
sale right
bucks
now. But
now? I would do that.
that's the point. Is like the sales are so drastic these days that I just don't feel any need. And so going back to Arkham, when I just recently got all three Arkham, because I played the first two Arkham games on the 360, and sometimes I'll replay games on the Xbox One just because if they have an Xbox One version, I get to get all the achievements from scratch. It's like the game, it's like a new
But
game.
slightly better resolution, a little bit more steady frame rate. Like
Exactly. And then the achievements are all locked still. So like it's kind of like I get to revisit the whole game all together and still feel like I'm working towards those achievements. So I actually just beat Arkham City like 3 days ago and did all the stuff, got all the Riddler trophies, all the DLC. Again, the Return to Arkham pack that had all three games, not including Origins, but Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. Got to play all. I have all three of them, all the DLC for all of them, all the skins, all the extra stuff. $15, dude. 15
for,
bucks
for the 3 Arkham games?
for the three Arkham games, man. I just paid that on Xbox recently, and I just played through the first two. And that's my point. Is like for me, I'm at a place now where I can go on there right now on my Xbox, open up whatever the games they have on sale, and they are bound to have some AAA title that's on sale. And yeah, sure, maybe the big ones that I want to play, like the Avengers or Cyberpunk, aren't on sale at this very moment in time, but they will be. They
Yeah.
will be. And
Eventually, yeah.
I'm at a place of peace, man, because I'm just like, whenever I have time to play, like I recently also got I'm playing through the Kingdom Hearts games as well. I'm right now, the game I'm currently playing is Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, which initially came out on the 3DS, and
3DS,
then
yeah.
yeah, and so I'm playing it the HD version, and again, the thing came out maybe a little bit over a year ago on Xbox at like 50, $60. I got it on sale for like $20. Comes with 3 Kingdom Hearts games. I'm just like, at this point, games just don't hold that same value
Yeah.
anymore, and it's just like for me, I'm at a place of just waiting.
I played Kingdom Hearts 1 on like the PS3, like the HD like remakes or whatever. And then I was like, like it's not for me. Like maybe I just don't have an appreciation for it. So I originally, like, I think when it came out, uh Kingdom Hearts, like the story so far or something, it had like 9 games in there or something like that for PS4. It
Yeah,
was like $60 or something like that. And I didn't feel like paying that. And then it went on sale. And then right when it went on sale, everyone freaking got it. So I paid like $29.99 for it new. And still, it's like I tried really hard, and it's got cool lore and stuff, but it's just Kingdom Hearts isn't my thing, so I ended up selling it. But to what you're saying, though, you'd rather wait till everything's in there. Cyberpunk, that's the same way. I'm waiting for a PS5 to come out to play. To go back to your friend's question from a while ago, how I feel about it. Like Cyberpunk, it looks iffy on the base Xbox One and base PS4.
yeah.
So I'm gonna get it a few weeks after it comes out on PS5, so that like they'll patch whatever small issues they have with the PS5 version. But as long as it's like 4K, because I have a 4K TV and like at least 30 FPS steady, I'm fine. I don't really care for, like, everyone's like, oh, it has to be 60 FPS, it has to be 120 FPS. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's not a big deal for me.
Same here. I've never really been a guy who, like, I think also it's part of like kind of how I grew up. Like I grew up as a kid playing a lot of like the hand me down consoles I got, the NES, the SNES, the Sega Genesis, the Atari. And so then my first console that I ever got myself was the Nintendo 64. And
Oh,
then
hell yeah.
I feel like I've never really cared about graphics. And as much as we've gotten further in gaming, don't get me wrong, as a longtime fan of video games, I have always thoroughly enjoyed like being able to see the advancements we're making on a visual level solely for video games. Like we're in a crazy place nowadays, but it's not like game ruining for me. Like some people are like, "Oh, the game looks terrible." I still to this day play like 16-bit like side scrollers like all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
like
exactly.
all the
See,
time.
my one friend Pat, like, he showed me uh he showed me something from Cyberpunk running on his base Xbox One. And I'm not gonna lie, like, there's a lot of bugs, but the bugs are funny, so that wouldn't have, like, ruined it for me. What ruins it for me is it kind of looks like an Xbox 360 game almost,
Yeah,
because like stuff. Like, you ever play GTA 5?
yeah,
You know how, like, you're flying in a plane or driving a vehicle and stuff loads in maybe like 100 feet away from you and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
Cyberpunk, that stuff takes like a minute or two to just load in when you go to a new place. So like,
yeah. It
like
looks
seeing
broken.
that, and yeah, and seeing Keanu in the picture of my friends, I was like, dude, I was like, that looks so weird. His face looks just like he has no pores or anything like that. It just
Yeah,
looks very cheap. So I was just like, if I just want to, like you're saying, if I just want to play, I would want to play the definitive version of the game. I'm a
absolutely.
slut personally for Mortal Kombat. So when that came out, Mortal Kombat 11, I paid $59.99, and then the season pass, combat pack, sorry, was $30. I paid $20 for it on eBay, and then all the DLC came out. Aftermath was $40, but that was like an extra 4 hours of story. And then they were
Yeah,
just like, Combat Pack 2. I was like, got me again for an extra $20. I don't know why they didn't do a season pass. They just did Combat Pack 1, 2. And
yeah,
then they did a Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate free upgrade. So at this point, I'm already like a little over $100 deep into the game, and they're just like, "We'll never release any more DLC. This is the definitive version." Week after it's on PS5. Oh, well, how about this costume pack with the 3 original skins from the
yeah. I
Mortal
saw that.
Kombat films with the voice actors? I'm like, oh, you're killing me. Like, it's
Yeah,
$5.99, whatever. It's not as bad as like DOA, Dead or Alive 4, I think it was, on Xbox One. where if you want all the skins and costumes and DLC, you would have to pay upwards of about, I think it's like $500 to $1,000.
See, and that's the thing, right? Is like that's just ridiculous. But like for like Mortal Kombat, for instance, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. This is the first Mortal Kombat that I don't own, and a reason for that is just because of kind of where I am with gaming these days. I'm dying to play it. There has been so many times I've seen it on sale for like 25, 30 bucks. I'm like, all right, this is the time. I'm just gonna buy it now. And then I keep pushing it back, and then I'm like, man, by the time I actually play this game, nobody's gonna be playing it online anymore. But honestly, that that's never the case with Mortal Kombat, because there's still people playing Mortal Kombat X all the time.
Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat, dude. I launch Xbox 360 on my Xbox One, and I'll boot up like Call of Duty 3 or some shit like that, because people love the older games for specific reasons, and there's still people playing every different mode too. Oh, sorry, your friend commented here.
Oh, you're good. No, I had that up for a while, but no, I know exactly what you mean, man. Like it's this. There's so many people playing so many games, and yeah, like it just kind of goes back to what I was saying before, man. Like it's like I'm at a place where with Cyberpunk, I guess the reason, I'm kind of in the same way. For me, if it's just like a whatever game, like if it was a game that came out on the PlayStation and Xbox, like Watch Dogs 2, right? I played it years after its release. All the patches of that under the sun that have come out already. I don't even have to worry about all that. It's already there. The game comes out. I got it for $15. All the DLC. Put like 60 to 80 hours into the game. Had a great time with it. Gave it the final salute when I uninstalled it from my Xbox and just moved on. And for me with Cyberpunk, I would rather play the definitive version. I would rather play it in a year from now on the Xbox, the new Xbox or the new PlayStation, whatever, and know that,
flawlessly, no bugs.
Yeah, like they've had all the time in the world. Everybody else got to be the guinea pigs for me, and I feel like I didn't miss out on anything. Like the only time that I feel like
you're like the dude in battle that lets 100 soldiers die while you stand back and you're just like, all right, let's get next.
Pretty much, man. Like that's me. Like that line in X-Men: The Last Stand that Magneto's like, that's why the pawns go first. Like that's exactly how I feel. Right. Let's look at some of these comments we got here. McKean said that he can't wait for the Star Wars Squadrons movie that Patty Jenkins coming out. Yeah, Rogue Squadron. I'm excited for that, man. Patty Jenkins, a fantastic director, and I can't wait to see Wonder Woman in a week and some change now. Or a week, like a week and some change.
Can I now? You got more comments? I'm sorry.
No, I want to hear your thoughts for sure. Go ahead.
So, what do you say? All that sounds mad confusing and doing a controller. What were we talking about when we were talking about that?
We were talking about Squadrons, and just to comment on that really quickly, he is right. It is a lot. That's why I found the game so challenging, and I enjoyed it. Like that, I was kind of like constantly like in a challenge with it. But it was a lot. And man, if you ever I've taken a break from the game, the idea of going back and having to relearn the controls to hop online is a little daunting. It's a little kind of like, oh damn, like I gotta kind of like learn how to like divert the energy back and do it all kind of seamlessly, because
you gotta take like a half hour out to readjust yourself to finally have fun with the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the game. It's cool. I really thoroughly enjoy it. I think it just depends on you as a gamer. Like you got to know what you're into, and like. I think the coolest part is that the game is fully playable in VR. So if you have like the PSVR or computer VR, like it's like you're in the cockpit. You can look around. You can see where the enemies are flying by you on the left and right or above you. And I really thoroughly enjoy that element of it. Like I didn't get to play it in VR, but being able to watch people play in VR and like you can play it with like flight sticks. So like if you have like one of those flight sticks for flight simulators,
that sounds fun.
Stuff like that was dope. I just having a fun time watching people do that, because you could tell people were having a blast for sure. Let me see if we have any more comments here. It's a lot of them people talking to each other. Let's see. Donald says that he got the first Kingdom Hearts for PS2 and played it for the whole day. Went downstairs, played the next day, and Drew was holding the PS2 disc drive in his hand. Oh my God! So Drew is his brother. That sucks. That's rough. That's a terrible situation.
Well, I have one better for you, my friend. I was borrowing my friend's Star Wars Jedi Power Battles for PS1 back in the day, and so I had it was breakfast, so I just made like toast or something like that. I think I might have put I was having like garlic bread or something, just melted butter, garlic powder, all that stuff. And I put it on top of like the table, and the table's right next to the PS2. I tripped and fell over the controller wire. My hand braced itself on the plate. Toast went flying, fell into the PlayStation. I got like butter all over that bitch, and I was never able to use my PlayStation again.
Oh God, sad day. I guess my story would be one Christmas I got a PlayStation 2 the Christmas that they came out, or like the year that they came out. I got my PlayStation 2, and my cousin and I'll never forget, we were playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games that came out at the time,
Yeah.
and we were having a great time. Here comes my grandpa coming out of the bathroom, stumbling out, drunk, and just coming in hot, just walks right through the controllers, like the wires of the controllers, and just rips the PS2 right down from where it was like seated, and just slams it on the ground. Couldn't get the disc out of the PlayStation. Couldn't get the
tray was
PlayStation
fucked.
turned back up. And my grandpa couldn't have even cared less, man. He was so plastered drunk. He was like, he just kind of looked around and goes, "Hey, what's going? What's fucking what happened?" And he just walked away. That's literally exactly. He didn't even know what he did, man. And I was sitting there just like, oh my God. I remember just being distraught. And the worst part was that pretty much, I felt like Vader. And then the worst part is that the disc that was inside of it was not even mine. It was my cousin's who was playing with me. So I'm crying as like a kid, like, my PlayStation. He's crying because it's like, my game. And it was just Merry Christmas, fuckers. So you got Q reviews here saying that Mortal Kombat was fire. I think he's talking about the 10th one, and he says that he was a beast with Jason in MK10. Yeah, I used to play with Jason a lot in MK10. I used to really enjoy playing with him.
Yeah, Jason Voorhees, or as he's known in Mortal Kombat 11, the Terminator.
Does he play exactly the same?
Yeah, they literally took the same framework from Jason Voorhees and slapped it on the Terminator.
Interesting. He does look like that same kind of boxy, kind of like, yeah. That was one thing I didn't like about Jason, was that he was a little too boxy for me when I played with him sometimes. Like, I mean, if you got good with him, you could wreck. I mean, that's the same with any character.
Yeah, someone was saying The Last of Us was half off at Walmart. Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm still, there's a lot I want to say about the game, but I'm not going to go into it. But to me personally, I don't feel that it's worth even $30. I'll wait till it's like $5 or PlayStation Plus game or something like that. So,
so are you disappointed that it won Game of the Year?
Not really. There was so much disdain because of the direction. Because I didn't mean to spoil it for myself, but I know what happens to a specific character.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah.
I know this has nothing to do with political opinions or anything like that, but there was a character in the game. The girl in real life has like decent sized boobs or whatever, and then they like reduced them in the game to like appeal to like a certain community. And like, if you want to, like, I get it. Like, you want to make other people feel comfortable and you want to support said community, but it was like, why couldn't you just then hire someone that already appealed to that community in real life to be even better? But it's where you took something away from an actress, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah, I all I've seen is like gameplay footage of like people like. I love the way the game looks and plays.
Oh,
it looks really good. I haven't played it because I don't have a PlayStation. So I played the first one back on the PS3 with, I got a friend's house because he would like let me come over, and I slowly played it. So I really enjoyed the first one. The second one, I just watched a lot of gameplay. But I didn't really watch a lot of like the cutscenes of the story and stuff like that. I know about the one big spoiler that I think upset a lot of people when that, like, the week that it came out. I just saw people enraged about this one thing, which is understandable. I was surprised, again, another game I didn't play, but I just watched so much gameplay. I was super surprised that Game of the Year didn't go to Ghost of Tsushima. Like, that game just
looks really good.
Absolutely, the game, I was super like hooked in when I watched the gameplay for that game. The story, the actual gameplay itself, and then on top of that, I think just the kind of the cherry on top for me was that the voice actor, if you played the game in Japanese, which was what I watched, the voice actor who is the main character is the same voice actor who plays the character of Roronoa Zoro in One Piece, and he's one of the main characters in that show. He's the guy that has the three swords. He has one in his mouth, and he holds the other ones. He wears green a lot, and
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
so it's the same voice actor. And so when I was watching the gameplay, people are fucking people up with the sword, and then he would say stuff, and I was like, that's Zoro. Like that's just Zoro for like this is just a
You're
different
like,
adventure.
you're like, and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, oh my god. So I was
It's
surprised that one didn't that one didn't win Game of the Year. Just because I felt like if there was a game that I heard hyped the most, like that just was. I don't think I heard a negative review from anybody, at least not anybody that gave it like a valid reason for why it was a bad game.
Yeah, I couldn't personally pick a game of the year because just like I usually do best 2020 films or 2019 stuff. I personally like did it for 2019 and I screwed up and even 2019 kind of came a blur and I included a 2018 movie in there by accident.
Yeah.
And for 2020, like it's just a lot of things didn't come out in theaters. So much content came digitally and it's all a blur. So I'm probably not going to do a best 2020 movies.
Yeah.
Someone had it up there about Emperor's New Groove. That's a movie I actually have never seen. And it's the 20th anniversary. No, I haven't.
Wow, yeah, no, that's a good one. I thoroughly enjoy Emperor's New Groove, man. I recommend checking it out. I'm sure it's on Disney Plus, and I used to watch the TV show on Disney Channel. And David Spade, I believe, plays the main character.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a good story, man. Do you know anything about it?
Like I know some of the memes and the part she's like pull the lever, Kronk, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, so that's like the villain and her henchman, Krunk.
Yeah.
Yzma is the name of the villain, and yeah, it's one of those good stories, classic Disney heart tugging story where you have this emperor who's like super self absorbed. He's just like is living his best life, doing whatever he wants. He treats the people of his empire like shit. He's kind of just like this rude guy who is very incredibly selfish, and he actually turned away one guy, our main character. I wouldn't say our main character, but like the main supporting character, or like one of the main characters.
Yeah.
He kind of like turns away this guy who's part of that lives in this guy's empire and kind of like doesn't kind of refuses to help him and his family. It's like kind of this poor family, and he ends up finding himself in an unfortunate situation where Yzma, the villain, accidentally turns. She meant to kill him, but she accidentally turned the emperor into a llama. And,
Yeah, I remember seeing that in like the trailer, like way back in the day.
yeah, so he gets turned into a llama, and now he ends up running across this guy who he wasn't willing to help, and now that guy has to kind of help him kind of become a human again. And it's just I'm sure you can imagine that Disney flavor. It's the story of a man like that got turned into a llama and kind of had to like learn to not be selfish in order for people to want to help him, and he kind of like has a change of heart and who he is, and he gets to know the people through being a llama. He gets to learn and know more about the people of his empire and how maybe the way he's been has been
You
shitty.
put yourself in someone else's shoes, and then you get to appreciate different things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good overall message.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Speaking about that, it gets. I know this might get a little personal about like your own opinions and stuff like that, but I was just wondering. There's a lot of talk out there, and I'm not going to go too extreme with it, but if you don't mind, I just wanted to pick your brain about like certain people getting canceled for certain things, and like people are trying to cancel Gina Carano from The Mandalorian just because she posted something that someone misinterpreted on Twitter or something like that. But then she also, I mean, I'm guessing she's Republican. I don't really care what people's political affiliations are, but like she said something about like, vote in person, like you want me to vote in person, but you still want me to take this shot like vaccine or something like that. So she seems like she's against the vaccine. Everyone's like, oh, cancel her, get rid of her on The Mandalorian and stuff like that. And like they're doing that with Rosario Dawson too, because there's some story floating around about like Rosario Dawson had a like a butler or like a housekeeper or something like that was going through a like a trans process and stuff like that. They were getting pills and stuff. And apparently her and her family were like super abusive. And like they had the court hearing, and the dude who originally like went through the transition 18 out of the 20 accusations he like withdrew or something like that. But people are still trying to be like, oh, she shouldn't get her own show. She couldn't be doing this. And that's,
Yeah,
I,
so for me, with the whole going back to even where really a lot of this started a few years back to like the Me Too movement, I think it started with this good idea where people just have this idea that like, okay, cool, like we outed a bunch of shitty people, like let's make sure that they don't have the chance to thrive in this world again as being like these
yeah,
popular celebrities. And I think that it started as this good thing. We got a lot of we got a lot of people that called out and probably for the better, like some people that were really sick. Look at Harvey Weinstein, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But in the mix of it, I think it started to muddy the water a little bit. And you start to get into this place where you don't fully know who to listen to, who to believe. At first it was like, oh, believe all women, and then nowadays it's like everything that anybody says is just like held up to this crazy like pedestal. I mean, even looking back to a couple of years ago when Kevin Hart was going to be the host of the Oscars, and they, then he got this tweet dragged out, kind of like a homophobic tweet from like years prior, or
yeah.
the whole thing with James Gunn, where he was fired from Guardians of the Galaxy over this, probably in poor taste joke that he made forever ago. But I think I'm in the mentality that people say stupid shit. Like I think that sometimes and sometimes also it's just a matter of like you're never really gonna know the full intent or the full story. How many times have you been sitting around with friends and you kind of like talk some shit? Maybe you talk some shit about something or somebody. Maybe you made like I grew up, and I'll be genuinely honest. I grew up as a teenager in that generation. I mean, we're like, how old are you?
29.
Okay, cool. So I'm 27. So we're really close in age. And so
Yeah,
like we both grew up in that era where teenage guys were constantly throwing around the like, derogatory gay terms, like things that, like fag and stuff like that. Like, people were like,
yeah.
people just did that. Like it was kind of like a joke to do. And I look back on that, I'm like, okay, I would go back and slap myself back over the side of the head. But people just kind of dropped those words left and right back in the day. And
It's just
I'm not
like
proud.
it's just the times that, not to cut you off. It's just the
Yeah.
times that we grew up where like in the first Clerks film, there's a scene where Jason Mewes like sees some guy in front of the quick stops and he's like fucking faggot or something like that. And Kevin Smith said if he literally could go back and change anything about his movies when I saw him on stand up, he said he would change that line out of the film because
Yeah.
and things might slip nowadays. Like I'm someone who's white. I obviously have white privilege. So like I don't, at times years ago, I didn't know who I was offending. I wasn't aware of myself. But now as everything becomes more inclusive, it is really good because it helps people realize that there's a certain things that won't work anymore. Like you
Yeah.
can't have, like Jimmy Fallon did blackface like 12 years ago. Some people are furious, but like people like Chris Rock and other people, it's like no, it was comedy. It was back then. Like it's comedy for the sake of comedy. Like you're blowing it way out of proportion. And like someone, I think it was Alyssa Milano or someone else. Someone was like, "Dude, look at this. She's doing blackface. It's terrible." She's like, "No, if you actually did your research, I was portraying Snooki in like a college humor skit or something like that."
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, right? Is like the reason I brought up like those like kind of just throwing around words like that back in the day as like a teenager is like we all grow, like I recognized as I was getting older, like, hey, this isn't the right thing to say, as well as as once it started becoming more of the discussion around things in general with everything, which is things that you say, maybe political affiliations. Especially now, we're in like this incredibly divided time with politics, and I just don't care what anybody's politics are. Like, I don't care who they voted for, who this and that. Like, if we have like difference of opinions on things, fine, sure. Now, if like, of course, some people always say like well, what if they're racist? Well, of course, I'm not gonna be friends with anybody who's racist. Anybody who watched my channel knows that I'm 100% not racist because I constantly have people of all races on my channel on a consistent basis. So, my closest friends in the world are all of color and different things like that. So I think that I think people have forgotten what it is to just have a difference of opinion. So the whole thing with Gina Carano, bringing that back to what you initially said, I think at the end of the day, she made a comment. At the end of the day, with Twitter and Facebook, everything comes across very bland, very dry. You know what I mean? and there's no nuance to the way that things are said. There's no nuance to the way that to the way like you maybe like like things are intended to like maybe have been said. There's no inflection in the voice. There's none of that. You lose all of that when you just instantly kind of are just going based solely on text. So a lot of times people think of these celebrities and they just think of what they've seen them in, like they have this image of who they are. But at the end of the day, I'm not some idiot who's going to sit here and think like these people don't, as if they don't sit in their private time, maybe talk shit, maybe make a comment that they look at
Yeah,
their close friend
like
and like,
everyone's guilty of something.
exactly. Like they may say something that they know they shouldn't. Like they look at their close friend that they're with and they kind of have this kind of like internal, like maybe they have like a little internal laugh between them that is like, oh, like you shouldn't say that, but like I'll laugh at it because I know that you don't mean like
He's like,
wrong.
oh, dude, that's funny, but that's messed up. Don't say that anymore. Like kind of that.
Exactly.
And there's certain things to where like, I'm be fully transparent. I'm not a religious person. I respect people and can fathom like people who are religious and stuff like that. So some people, when they post stuff it's because they're religious and that's what they grew up and that's what surrounds their life. So when someone says something like, oh, like, I don't know, this person needs to be canceled because they don't believe in this political stance or this thing on women's rights or something like that. It's just like, yeah, that's something I don't really agree with, but it's their life. I'm not going to tell them how to live their life if they're not saying like fuck the entire black population, or they're not saying like I abuse women on a daily basis. So it's not enough for me to be like stuff like that is enough for me to be like, you're done. Like, no way, I'm not supporting you. I'm not doing this.
And that's the thing is
but
like in most cases,
I twisted my own words a little bit. I almost said something I didn't want to say, but
but I know what you mean though. Like it's this thing where it's like you have this thing where it's in a lot of these cases it's not somebody flat out saying something that's completely and utterly unforgivable. It's something that they said that they can address. And I think that when, especially what the worst part is when they address it via like text, like another message, another tweet, like people will send like multiple tweets in a row, like these big paragraphs. You lose the nuance, you lose the ability for you to have a conversation, to have a discussion. I found myself more and more falling in love with long form media, and like I literally on my drive here from work, I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with him and Alex Jones. And I love Joe Rogan, and Alex Jones is like crazy. I don't believe everything he says. He's a little bit over the top, he's a little bit sporadic, but I enjoy listening to different people talk and being able to hear them rationalize what it is that they're saying, whether I agree with it or not. And I think that's something that's a little lost on people these days. You know what I mean?
And like, some people, it sucks because I've been called this before too. Some people will call me a people pleaser because I like to like hear everyone's sides and I try to make peace with everything and I try to find some common middle ground. Everyone's like, oh, like you're just favoring them because of this, or you're just saying that so you can seem like their friend or something. You have like some ulterior motives. Like, no, that's just because I want to see their point of view. Like, it's not like if I sat down with like Charles Manson or something, I would do that. But like, I was just like, if you're like ridiculous and batshit crazy or like ridiculously like, no, like I'm good. But if you're like someone who's religious, or if you're like, say, if I sat down with J.K. Rowling, like the flack she's been getting, maybe I don't 100% agree. Maybe it doesn't bother me. Maybe I don't care. But still, it's something to where like I would still, at least for that, like to like get inside her head, whether I agree with it or not, and find some sort of common ground.
Yeah,
But
no, I think that
people have already canceled her. So
yeah, I think that that's the most important thing that we can all do is the ability to just talk to people and just hear their side. And so, like for instance, with like let me go back to something like Kevin Hart. He made those comments. He had a viewpoint at a certain time. He's apologized about it, and he's come out. And his whole thing was like he didn't want to have to be forced to apologize. That's just stupid. He did something.
Yeah, so they canceled him on the awards.
Yeah, like for me, like okay, here's a perfect example, and I have no shame in saying this because I have full confidence in who I am as a person today and the friendships that I have. And I'm going to say this as I pull up this comment right here from Donald. where he's talking about that he liked that podcast with Joe, Alex, and Tim Dillon. That's what I was listening to. I just finished it on my drive here. Love that. Love the podcast. But I'm saying this because Donald, he was in my band. Donald played guitar in my band, and when I was in the band, Donald and I were the only white skinned guys in the band. We were in a pop punk, rock and roll, heavy metal band. Really weird mix.
That's sweet.
Five guys, me being a Hispanic guy, white skinned, Donald being the white guy, the Mayo guy, and then the other three guys all being black. Like
Yeah.
all three other guys were black. Two of them being from the islands, and so we were always kind of stood out for being pretty different compared to a lot of the other band lineups when we would play shows. And the reason I bring this up is because there were a couple shows at the beginning of our time where I would maybe make a joke, like if they got kind of like if they got a little bit like, I don't know, like rambunctious. There was times where we kind of had these moments on stage where like some of the, like our bassist and our drummer would kind of like mess around in the middle, in between songs or something like that. It kind of like added to like a fun thing on stage.
Yeah.
But I had this tendency sometimes of just joking. And mind you, we all know each other and we loved each other and we had nothing but respect and we would poke fun at each other all the time. And I would sometimes I'd be holding the mic and I'd like look back at them at a point and I'd be like, black people, and I'd kind of like just like, and I look back on it, and I remember coming off of the stage, and I had people tell me like, hey, maybe you shouldn't say stuff like that, but I always knew in the time, like I was like, oh, I'm totally just playing around, like love these guys, they know I love. They would laugh, they would be like, they would laugh at me on stage with it, and then we'd poke fun at each other, and on our free time, we would constantly say stuff to each other that probably isn't politically correct, right? But at the end of the day, I bring that up because I have no shame in the fact that I knew my intentions there, but I also recognize, hey, this isn't right, and I'm not going to do this anymore. There's just no reason to, right? And in a similar sense, I grew up in Miami, so I don't know if you've been to Miami before, but it's a very unique place for like Hispanic people and black people growing up all together. There's a lot of Hispanic people down south that use the N-word down in Miami. That use the N-word like very casually because it's just kind of part.
I feel like every person of color has a pass. Like I've heard Hispanic people say, I've heard black people say, Indian people say it. Like, I mean, obviously growing up, like we grew up in the early '90s and stuff like that. I mean, I can fully 100%. I'm comfortable with today saying like I've said that word before and stuff like that. And obviously, I know not to throw it around anymore because one, it's a symbol for hate, and even if I may say something like that jokingly, it's to the, like as you said, it's the people who you're comfortable with, 100% solid with, and that's that. You know how people view you in the public eye, and you know, like you said, people don't like to talk. All they like to do is just comment on something.
It's where we live in a reactionary world. It's all about the reaction, and so for me, like my friends, I remember back in the day when I was a teenager, when they gave me like the fist bump and like told me that I had like the N-word pass to like use the N-word around them. I remember as a teenager in Miami, where a lot of other people that were in my same skin tone, that were from the same, like Hispanic background, kind of just used it casually. I still know tons of people that are Hispanic that from Miami that all use the word no problem. It's just kind of part of the culture down there, whether people think it's right or not. I figured at a certain point, like my friends, those same friends, they don't care if I say it. They to this day, if I said it to them today, they would care. They wouldn't even blink. They wouldn't even care at all. But I learned a long time ago, for me, I just don't. I have so many other words I can use. What's the point, right?
That's how I got to it. Yeah.
What's the reason for using? I'm gonna I'll just use another term or another word for them. Like not even. I wouldn't even. I hate to say it like that. It wasn't even like a word for them. Like I would say it kind of just like saying bro or saying like my dude or guy or like whatever. Like it would just kind of like a casual term that I would use towards them because they allowed me to, and I kind of felt like I was like in this circle of like being able to do that when I was younger. But then I just got older. I'm like, I just don't care to. There's no reason.
But someone that's the thing that sucks though, because potentially someone could dig up a 12-year-old video of Anthony A. Perez saying the N-word and be like, this is his standpoint today. This is who he is today. He needs to be canceled. And that's the thing. I personally, I wouldn't apologize for something I said 12 years ago when I was a different person and completely oblivious. Hell, 5 years ago, I thought white privilege was made up. So
Yeah.
like
And but
I
you're growing, right? Like that's the thing is you're growing. It's like I think to myself, I'm 27 right now. I'm about to next year. It will be my 10-year anniversary of having graduated high school. And for me,
woo,
it's this. Yeah, I know it's kind of crazy. It kind of breaks my heart a little bit to think about. But I think about myself at 18, and I love those years, and I have incredible memories and incredible things I did, and it was a formative time for me. But I was an idiot. I would go back. I look back at it. I'm like, man, like I just compared to who I am today. It was. I remember thinking like starting to kind of find my footing as an adult and doing things as an adult, and like compared to today, like it's like night and day. Like there's so much. Like sure, I'm still the same dude that can tell you sit here and talk to you about Anakin Skywalker for 4 hours, but at the same time, like just my mental process on what's offensive, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what
yeah,
maybe the ability to discuss, to have discussions like this. I didn't have that when I was younger. I was a bit more of a dope, you know what I mean? And I think we all go through that growing period. So when you see stuff like this, it can get a little bit over the top. And then one last thing I'll say, because I definitely want to hear more what you have to say is like just on the topic of canceling people. Look at something that kind of like happened with this whole, and I know you and I have both been in support, but this whole thing with Johnny Depp, it's kind of ridiculous. Like like we there's been literally there's audio proof that came out of Johnny Depp saying that he does not want to hurt Amber Heard, and her literally saying to him that she almost like essentially has a problem with not hitting him. That like literally, I think his bodyguard came out and testified that she would like put cigarettes out on him. And then look at somebody like a few years back, wasn't it Chris Hardwick who did like Talking Dead after The Walking Dead, and he was also like
yeah. He
a
was a
lot of
game
times,
show host or something like that, right?
yeah, like he would do like he would host a lot of like the Comic-Con like panels and stuff like that. Like he's just like a great personality for that kind of stuff. He was accused of like sexual assault by his
Assault.
ex-girlfriend at the time, and it came out that it was all false. It came out that it was false. He lost his job on Talking Dead. He lost his job as the host of all these Comic Con things, and it came out that it was false. He got nothing but support from all of his friends and his family. That just them all knowing that it's just not in his nature. And eventually, it all came out that it was bullshit, and the girl kind of just did it for clout, And I think that that's again going back to what I said. It's kind of muddied the water where it's like, who do you believe? What do you believe? Nothing is black and white. Nothing is black and white. And you mentioned religion a little bit ago. I haven't really ever gone on too deep into it here on the channel, but I grew up in a Christian household, very Christian household.
Same, same.
Went to a Christian private school from literally kindergarten till I graduated. Graduated in a class of like 23 people in a Christian school. Was part of a youth like leader program. I used to sing in worship teams. I used to be a part of church every week. I would spend multiple days a week at my church every single week for years, all the way up till I was like 21, 22. And then eventually I realized, okay, I gotta realize that I'm not living life the way that I should. Like I shouldn't be going and praising Jesus with my hands up on stage and then like talking to my boys afterwards about like, hey, let's go get hammered and go like smoke a joint like right after church. Like
Yeah.
eventually I came to terms with like I didn't want to kind of have that hypocrisy in my life. So it's this thing for me where like I don't know, man. It's this thing where we all change, bro. We all change, and
Yeah.
it's just you kind of gotta like I don't know. I don't know where I was headed with it, but it's kind of just crazy to see people wanting to cancel everybody over every little comment and word and thing and post, and it's just like it's just not worth it, bro. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
And like springboard off that a little bit, like it's just people in general. Like my parents, they're very Christian and they're religious, but like my dad will still watch an R-rated movie. He'll still watch something with nudity in it. My dad will still be very old-fashioned and say words that I wouldn't say today. But it's just that's his generation, and I'm not going to knock him for that. I'm going to roll my eyes and know that I wouldn't say that, and I don't want him being around my friends or like if I ever had kids in the future saying that stuff. But it's just someone who's 65, like they're already set in their ways. Like you can try to change them, but most people don't change by that age. And
Yeah,
so going back to like Gina Carano or the guy on Flash, the dude who played Elongated Man,
yeah, yeah. I saw
he
that whole thing too.
he was canceled for I want to say like years ago. He had like said like, oh, I'm gonna say something like like borderline racist. Like I want to say something borderline racist, but I'm afraid Al Sharpton will find it, like joking and stuff like that. Like one, the second, here's the thing, and I'm sure you would do this as well. The second you blew up, like say if you got to like 5,000 subscribers or something like that, or even where you're at now, because you're still, in my eyes, you're a decently established YouTuber. Like some people who have like some people have 3 million subscribers might not say that, but like fuck off, like whatever. But you're decently, like you have a platform, and if I had like 5, 6, 7,000 subscribers, yeah, I've already gone back before and went into my old YouTube channels and put videos as unlisted, or I've downloaded them, just taken them 100% offline, because yeah, there might have been something I said in it 13 years ago or 14 years ago that's just not politically correct now. And so people who have these tweets found, like you're famous, you're in the Flash, like one of the most popular DC comic book characters out there, and probably one of the biggest shows on CW. Why wouldn't you go and delete stuff that you might have thought was offensive, or just get a brand new Twitter? Like I'm sure there's a way, like on Facebook, you can save all your videos and photos before you delete your Facebook permanently. I'm sure there's a way on Twitter you could download your posts or something like that.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you're right, and I think that's there's that, right, but then there's also this thing of like, I think part of the problem is not only like I hate the idea that people would need to do that, right? Because sure, if it's something that's super offensive, you should be able to have this internal recollection of like realizing like, hey, this is not appropriate for who I want to be represented as. But it's also this thing that like for me again, like I am able to like just completely without shame talk about the things that I told you I used to say, or that I used to kind of do with my boys, or used to do in my band. It was never done with any sort of ill intent or any sort of racist intent, or any sort of like when I used to be a teenager and say call my other like my peer like a fag, like I never did it out of like anything against homosexual people. Like I have tons of homosexual friends, and they're some of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I say that proudly because I'm in no way, shape, or form like a prejudice towards anything or anyone. But I recognize that even somebody like myself who grew up in a very diverse area with very diverse friends, I just don't. There's nothing about like I recognize that I'm not the same person anymore. Like I'm not the same person. I'm not going to say the same way. I'm not gonna joke about the same things. I also recognize that the world has changed as well as myself, so that's good. You know, the conversation.
Yeah, you should be proud of the man you are today, just based off, because like I mean I've known you for a while, and what you're saying now, and I probably already knew this about you, but it's just coming out in words. But it's the stuff like this you're proud of, and in 20 years, there might be a few things that you do now that you might not like think is good, but still in 20 years you can look back on your 27-year-old self and be like, you know what, he was a good guy. Like I was still a good guy back then. I'm glad how I'm the man I am today. Like there's stuff for me, like 10 years ago looking back, I wouldn't have approved of myself. 5 years ago I still probably wouldn't have approved of myself. Even like I want to say a few weeks ago I watched a movie called Uncle Frank. If you heard of that movie.
I feel like it sounds familiar, but I don't know that I know anything about it.
It's on Amazon. Paul Bettany plays the guy who plays Vision in Avengers.
Yeah.
And whatever the hell his name was in Solo. But he plays a gay man growing up in the 1970s. And Sophia Lillis, the girl from like It Chapters 1 and 2, and who played Beverly, she has never been exposed to anything like that before, and goes to hang out with them. And she finds out that he's been hiding this secret to his whole family about being gay, and the whole family's very rednecky and stuff like that. And I have an uncle who went through that, and his parents are very religious and stuff. And watching this movie, seeing someone grow up in the 70s, I had like a new appreciation for the community and everything like that. Because obviously I have no hatred towards that LGBT community or anything like that, but watching that gave me like this whole perspective about putting yourself in other people's shoes. Like, could you imagine what it was like for someone in like the 1970s growing up and being a homosexual man, and especially with the family who was like all rednecky and stuff like that, the repercussions? He had to hide it, and this dude had to like you'll see in the movie, I'm not spoiling too much, but there's times where he had to bring a fake girlfriend to family gatherings and stuff like that. And like his partner in the film, I believe, is from Iran or some other country like that. And he has to call to his parents back home and say like he met a girl and stuff like that, because in his like culture they would literally execute him for something like that.
Yeah, no, it's
And
crazy.
and
It,
seeing stuff like that, you're just like, God damn! Like it's just like growing up, like I didn't have to worry about anything like that. Like I'm
no,
a straight white man, so like I don't have to worry about that stuff. But like, oh, there's a lot of people out there who just like, oh, y'all need to stop complaining. Da, 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 da. I'm like, it's like, dude, relax. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know if they've gotten hit, abused in more ways than one. But it's given
yeah,
me a
no,
new appreciation.
of
Not to
course.
keep rambling about that stuff and try to talk myself up, but it's just a lot of
No, yeah,
if the world would give certain things a chance, it would make everything a lot easier on people.
sure, man. No, I totally agree. Like, I think that that's a big thing. Again, it comes down. We live in a very reactionary time. I think that at the end of the day, people just want to react to things on solely on like just on a quick like kind of glance at something, without knowing the depths of things. I've had people like talking about something like the Johnny Depp situation that have just kind of been like, oh well, he's a drunk and he's a drunk druggard, and like he's caused problems for people because he is that way. But it's like, okay, sure, though he's had issues with drinking and stuff like that, I can recognize that like that the guy probably needs help in some places. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that he's like a terrible person. You know what I mean? And then you have stuff like homosexuality or these things or people that are of color and these different things. Like I have friends who have told me about these horrible situations that they've had. You know what I mean? Like especially this year in 2020, where the debate or the discussion around police brutality has been so big. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
That's something that like, whenever I've always been like nervous when cops have pulled me over, but in the end of the day, I've never been like afraid for my life. And the reality of the situation is we live in this world where you do have those crazy kind of things going on. And whether it's because you're homosexual or because you're of color or you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people around you. But again,
Yeah.
everything is kind of like the conversation around things has kind of gotten muddled, and we've kind of gone in a few different directions. But yeah, man,
People have picked and chosen situations to uh choose, and they choose the severity of the punishment based on the situation. Obviously, with the thing with George Floyd, like that blew everything up. That opened the doors, and regardless of how people reacted, that finally put it front and center for people, because
yeah,
people say like, yeah, breaking things isn't going to help, and I feel that way too. Like destruction shouldn't happen, but it's if you're not getting the attention of the world, it's a double-edged sword. If you're not getting the attention of the world,
yeah.
like where does it end? Like your buddy right here is talking about Ezra Miller. Did you see that video where he choked out the girl? Like he was drunk or
Yeah.
something like
I
that?
couldn't I couldn't help but feel like the first time I saw it that like it almost feel like he was joking, but then it's like
Yeah, that's what I
when you
thought.
watch it again, there is something kind of sketchy about it. But yeah, like that's a perfect example of something that like there was literally video like evidence, and if he
Of him
really
going
did
like,
choke that girl out, if he really was choking her out like maliciously, then it's this thing where it's like why wasn't that a bigger part of the conversation? Whereas when we have something like evidence that Johnny Depp is not the abuser, he is canceled
why is
immediately.
it taking so long? Yeah. So my thing is, what was the name of your friend who posted that? Sorry.
Cinematic Tendency, who was actually in my review recently for Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, a Disney Channel original movie. For anybody who's interested.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So for cinematic tendency, people definitely pick and choose, because Ezra Miller getting choked, I don't know the full context of that. Like someone could be jokingly like me and a girl could be hanging at a bar. She's like, "Oh yeah, like I don't know, I like it rough or something like that." She's like, "Choke me, daddy." I was just like, and like I'll just go and be like, "Oh yeah, definitely." Like I'll go like that and like joke around with her at the bar or something like that. And literally, that could have been the context of the video or something like that.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
could have said something like,
Because that's the
"I
thing.
like it rough" or something.
The video is so short and like it's like it looks like he's upset about something, but it could have been like you said, like even if you took out the sexual context, even if it was something along the lines of just like Like imagine like how many times have you maybe hung around a friend that said something that kind of like they kind of took a jab at you, and then you're like, oh yeah, and then you come at them and you start kind of doing like some fake like kind of like you're gonna come
Yeah.
kick their ass kind of thing, like you're ready to kind of like take them out. It's like yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know the context of that moment, and the video clip is so short. But again, if he genuinely was doing it, or at least the point that we're trying to make is that these it's a very it's a black and white situation every time. It's black and white with people's reactions for situations that I feel are not black and white, which is part of why I brought up religion earlier, and then I kind of lost track of thought, and I just kept talking about random crap. But like,
While still in your head.
the religion thing is like for me was like the part of why I left it was because I just felt like so many views about what I was doing was it was black and white. It was just like it was this or it was that. There was no middle ground. There was no room for conversation. There was no room for discussion. And then I just chose a side. But my mind around everything is that there is no black and white situation with any of this. And sometimes it's clear cut. Sometimes there are just something like Harvey Weinstein, clear cut. That guy was a piece of shit. Good what happened to him and him being kind of taken down, But then sometimes you have like a Chris Hardwick situation, and it's it gets muddled. So I do want to say this though. I have to wrap things up now. I got to start wrapping things up. I have loved this discussion. I definitely want to do this again very, very soon.
I have never actually gotten like real with someone like that, but like I wanted to dabble with it a little bit, but I'm glad it did go in that direction because people, like you said, people will get to know how we feel as going back to what you said as people. And then just to comment on your cinematic tendency friend, I never heard Ezra make a statement about it. I never heard the girl make a statement about it.
Same.
And I feel like star power definitely has to contribute because you have someone like Jared Padalecki from Supernatural that got arrested for like beating the shit out of someone in a bar and he got thrown in jail. But like he still went on to do seasons. I mean, it's not like he was killing someone or abusing someone or well, you know what I mean, like sexually abusing someone or something like that.
Yeah.
But still, you're assaulting someone, so it's
again the water gets muddy. It does not. It's not a clear cut situation with any of these situations. Whether it's something like allegations of some sort of abuse, or it's somebody who just said something online that people just didn't like. I think at the end of the day, I mean, I look back at like Facebook posts that I posted, and it's kind of funny. I'll go back and see them from over 10 years ago, and it's like I'm me typing with like the letter U for saying the word you, or like the number 2 for like two. And I'm like who if anybody ever brought up something like that from back in the day and was like, look at what Anthony said, I don't even know what I could have possibly said. It was usually just stupid shit. But if it was spelled like that, if it was spelled like that, I'd be like, why are you even putting any stock in what somebody who's typing like that is even saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why does it matter? So yeah, let's go ahead and let's wrap this up here as far as this conversation. But I definitely want to have this. I want to do another one of these very soon, man.
Dude, I want to come back, man.
Yeah, I loved having you on, man. This is
my favorite like collab I've done because it's the first live. Like this is the first one I've done like live. I've recorded Skype calls and Zoom calls before and threw them online, but this is the first live one I've done, and I feel like there's a lot more transparency with this and a lot more realism to it.
Yeah, you're on the spot. You're
awesome. So it makes it easy for me. I
appreciate it, man. No, I love your content, man. It's been great getting to know you. And lately, since we've had each other on Facebook, being able to kind of communicate more and just like talking about different articles that come out and stuff like that. I definitely want to do this again very, very soon. If I had more time, my girl's like about to pull up, and she's like, "What we're having for dinner, all that stuff." So I gotta
about to pull up. No,
pull up with a Glock. Yeah, exactly. But no, man, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And the one question that I have not asked you, and this we'll wrap it up with this, and it's the question I've asked everybody. That's the first question I asked, but we kind of just went on a tangent. I just kind of rode the wave. What got you into YouTube? What made you start?
So I think I had a few failed attempts that I was like very nervous about talking in front of the camera. I'm not as much now just because I know I can roll with stuff. But like even in my reviews, when it's like this, when it's another person I can bounce off of, it's very easily. I don't have to filter myself. But when I'm just by myself, there's times where I'll be like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm Justin. And today what I'm going to be talking about is that like I might look off or something because I don't feel like comfortable just talking like this to the camera the whole time. And the thing about this, like, I could never do news and just do a teleprompter and just stare blindly at the camera like that. Yeah. I could do it for maybe 10 or 15 seconds, but I feel like people would feel like I'm a drone or a zombie if I'm just hey everyone, what's up? How I feel about it, and like that way for like 8 minutes straight. It's
Yeah,
yikes. But with me,
I know what you
I
mean.
felt this like I wanted to talk about film as someone who has ADHD, and I'm not trying to use it as a crutch, but there's a lot of people out there who probably struggle with it as well. And say 10 people see this, maybe one of them has ADHD, or 300 people see this, like 4 or 5 of them do. There's always a platform for people, and you can always have your videos in a different format, and that's eventually how I felt with it. My first video, I think, was like Ant-Man and the Wasp or something like that when it first came out.
Nice.
I think I might have done like an Avengers video where I was just like sitting on my couch talking for like 18 minutes or something, or like a top 10. But like my first consistent review going forward was Ant-Man and the Wasp from like when it came out in 2018, I believe, and then on. And from there, I was just like, you know what? I want to do game reviews. I want to do movie reviews. I want to do videos that I don't necessarily monetize on, but I just want to do it for the fans because I like this community. I like the friends I'm making. I mean, I
Yeah.
eventually want to come down to Florida and meet you. I want to meet Blacktastic. And there's just so many people, so many different friend groups I never thought I would make. And ever since I did that, even back when it was like my first 100 subs, that's what kept me going. I was like, shoot, I was like, not just because I like talking about this stuff, but because I'm making friends. Like I'm doing all of this stuff, and it's like one big journey. Like
Yeah.
right now I'm at the point where I still love making videos, but it's just become slowed down a bit because I'm trying to find a way to attack it where it's still consistent. Which I've been uploading a few older videos and stuff, but back to what you said, it's just for a simple answer, it's the community, honestly. Like
Yeah.
that's what's keeping me going. And obviously, I've always had my love for film. I always will have my love for film and TV shows, stuff like that. Any type of entertainment medium, kind of. And that pushes me forward because it's never going to die. So it's a great thing to talk about. You could have nerdy conversations where me and you disagree for 3 hours straight, and it's still fun to talk about. And I won't think of you any differently as a person. But
Yeah.
it's
No, yeah,
that's what keeps me
I totally
going.
know what you mean, man. It's about the community, right? That's for me is what started the channel for myself. I found myself in a place where, sure, I have friends that I can shoot the shit about movies here and there with, but I knew that I wasn't able to talk to people in the same level where I love watching movies of all kinds. You know, anybody who's watched my channel has seen that I've reviewed animated movies. I've done stuff for anime. I've done stuff
Yeah,
for the
like
big
shit that I wouldn't
blockbusters.
even think of, like Disney originals and stuff like that, like Disney movies and stuff, or like you were saying, chick flicks like Beaches. I would never like think myself about doing something, but like you came at it a different angle. How funny would it be if like two grown ass men would talk about this perceived chick flick film? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so I wanted to find the sense of community, the ability. There's nothing worse too. Like I'm sure you've had this happen where like you sit down, and I got to wrap it up on this one, but where you sit down to talk to a friend or something, or you're just talking to a friend at work or something, and you say something about a movie, and then they, you're like, hey, they're like, hey, did you see this movie? I know you like movies. Like, did you like it? You're like, yeah, I loved it. And you start talking about the director and the things that you like, the cinematography and this and that, and then they're just like, yeah, yeah, it was good. Where it was just kind of like they don't engage, they don't really care to engage, and if you ever get too passionate about what, like, let's say they didn't like the movie and you loved it, you're like, no, and then you're trying to talk to them about like, well, what about this? I love the acting here, and it almost feels like to them like you're trying to like work their mind, like
Convert them, yeah.
yeah, like your opinion is superior. And I've had people throw that to me before, that they say, oh, you just think your opinion's superior. It's like, no, I'm just trying to talk to you about it. Like I love talking about this stuff and I'm passionate, so then it comes across like I'm trying to like be better than them.
And
And
yeah,
that's
everyone's been guilty of at one point or another doing that as well. Like I've been
sure,
guilty of
sure.
it a few times, but go on. Sorry.
No, but I was saying, sure, like you're right. Like there's been like I remember like the last time that really woke me up was when The Last Jedi came out, because I came out of the theater and I loved the movie, and I remember just I wasn't expecting to see the uproar of like just complete divisiveness across the fan base after The Last Jedi came out. And I got into a bunch of heated debates with people in text, and it turned into this bigger thing. And a lot of times when I would talk to friends in person that I had gone through like battles with online about The Last Jedi, I was like, this. I have a moment now to be able to be a little bit more nuanced. You know what I mean? Like that, you remove the text element, and it just kind of like you're able to just kind of talk to people. But even then, I just found myself talking to people that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, just weren't. they didn't really care. They didn't care to go
Some
deeper.
people are dismissive and not engaging. Other people
Yeah.
want to talk about it and see your reasoning or see my reasoning.
Exactly. It's like for some people, it's like it just doesn't matter. Like for them, it's like, did you like it or you didn't like it? Oh, you liked it? Cool. That's about where I want to leave it. That's about the extent of what I want to talk about because I don't really care whether or not you loved it any further. So if you try to, like, you can't really engage with them. So I've done
Yeah.
part of why I started the channel was to meet people like you, to meet people like Blacktastic, like Rashaji Reviews, like the Cinematic Tendency, like McKean Mole, like so many others that I've met here on YouTube that I can talk about movies. And I know, like you said, like if we're sitting here disagreeing about movies or arguing, that we could do that. Somebody that I disagree with fairly often, somebody that I disagree with fairly often on Facebook is this guy, and maybe you see him on Facebook. His name is Terry, and Terry he's an older guy. He's from
Put it
Australia.
in reverse, Terry. No.
Yeah, he has a channel where he does a lot of older movies, and there's been times where him and I have gone back and forth on completely disagreeing on movies and stuff like that, or TV shows, where he'll post something like maybe he's like shit talking like The Mandalorian or something, and I kind of come at him a little bit, and we've gone back and forth. But even in those moments, I recognize that like I still respect the dude because he's so passionate about film in his own way, and so
He comes at a different angle, and so do you. So it's
exactly. So I'm actually doing a collab review with him within the next couple days. He already sent me his review. It's actually for John Wick, which you and I were supposed to do together.
yeah.
But it's all good.
That fell into the discouragement thing. Like I was talking about the past few months, I felt discouraged and trying to find what I want to do. So that's this. I did want to do it. So like I felt like this would be a fun thing, and I'm glad it was. Man.
Yeah, man, it turned out to be great. Well, my girlfriend just got here, man. I appreciate you for doing this. Let's wrap it up there, man. I look forward to doing the next one of this. I had a lot of fun, and maybe one of these days, once you're ready, when you have the time, I'd love to have you on one of my more traditional reviews.
Man.
The best part about it is like there is there is never we're never with the kind of content that we make, we will never run out of something to talk about.
There's always going to be movies. I work for a communications company, Comcast. Like there's always, regardless if the television aspect, the wire goes away, you're still going to have internet. Internet's always going to be a thing. So there was always going to be movies too.
Yeah, and then you have like physical media and all that kind of stuff. It's wild. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Random Rambling. Whether you watched it live or you're watching it after the fact, what I really enjoyed about the show is that a lot of people do come back and watch this show after the fact. Maybe they just didn't catch it tonight because it's already kind of late, and they end up watching it tomorrow or the next day or over the course of the next couple of days. Thank you to everybody who will watch this, whether you watch it now or later. A big thanks to my buddy Justin for being here in this video. As usual, with anybody who shows up on the channel. Oh, real quick, sorry. Your link is down below. Justin's link is down below. Go give him some love. Any final words from you, my friend?
Yeah, give my buddy Anthony some love so he gets to 1,000 subscribers because he deserves it.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. I'm super close, and I look forward to seeing both of our channels grow, and I look forward to our next collaboration. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys, everybody, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Take care, dude.